All right, you're listening to WOVV 90.1. This is This Island Life with your host, Brian Pompey. We got a very special episode for you today. In the studio, we have Walt Wolfram. How you doing, Walt?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for being with us. You might recognize him from a couple of his books on the Ocracoke Brogue. In case you are unaware, Walt is the co-author of the book Hoi Toid on the Outer Banks, as well as several CD volumes here. Ocracoke Speaks, the distinct sounds of the Hoi Toid, and you've been doing research here on Ocracoke since...
Well, since 1992. It's about 20 years now.
Okay. And so what keeps bringing you back here? Well, after your initial project here and you finished the Ocracoke Speaks CD, what keeps bringing you back to the island?
Well, one of the reasons we come back is it's simply a great place to visit. I mean, people are friendly and all of those good personal things, but part of it is that our research is committed to working with communities to try to give back to them. So we call this the linguistic gratuity principle, where when we work with a community and their data from that community fuels our research, we try to do something that will benefit the community, either in terms of preserving, in terms of collecting, archiving, and simply helping get the word out about our research and the community in that role.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Let's, for our listeners at home here, let's play a quick clip of your original CD, Ocracoke Speaks here, just a quick segment from Rex O'Neill.
What are you doing on the same story? Last night the water forward, night moonshine, no fish. What are you supposed to matter, Uncle Woods?
All right, so that's the quick first track, the 8-second track on your first CD. Can you explain to me a little bit about what's going on there?
Well, actually, what Rex is doing is he's performing a phrase that has lots of dialect features of Ocracoke. So he's saying hoi toid, so he's got the hoi toid vowel on the sane side, that particular sound which is becomes sane, and then he pronounces fire as far, which is a trait there, and then in the end he says no fish, which is that vowel pronunciation as fish instead of fish is a trait of the dialect. So it's a performance phrase that captures a lot of the iconic dialect features that are represented here.
And for our listeners who are unaware, some of our listeners off the island, this is a unique language trait to Ocracoke that you can't find too many other places, if anywhere, correct?
Actually, in some respects, the island dialect is typically identified not as being American. So, for example, if you take this to England, people will identify it as a British dialect, not an American dialect.
Okay.
So it's the only dialect of the United States that I'm aware of is like that.
That's fascinating. And so, in your book, which I was talking to you earlier today, I mentioned that in your Hoi Toid on the Outer Banks book was the first Ocracoke book that I ever read before spending my first summer here. And in it, you talk about how, taking efforts to preserve this language or to recognize it and give it some historical significance and to, instill some pride in this dialect, that it can have a certain impact on the culture and preserving certain lasting vestiges of this culture. And so, since starting doing this in the 90s and then coming back now in 2012, can you point to, or are you documenting any impact or significance that this has had on the culture here on Ocracoke?
Well, I think the greatest significance it's had is about the attitude about dialects. It's not like our coming and talking about it and teaching every 8th grade class in the last 20 years about the dialect has preserved the dialect per se. So it's not like they say, oh, this is a cool dialect, they speak it now. That's not what's happening. But what people say, wow, this is an important part of our heritage. Let's collect these stories, let's collect these sounds, and let's embrace them rather than, actually 50 years ago, people were ashamed to speak this dialect because people would make fun of them, call them country, ignorant, and so forth. And so I think one of the things that we've helped do is transform this stigmatization of the dialect into a positive artifact of Ocracoke culture.
Absolutely, and I really enjoyed hearing it in my time spent here on Ocracoke, and I think a lot of the tourists really enjoy it too. It's kind of makes another reason that makes Ocracoke unique and a special place to visit.